years and quality of life, pressure on the health and social welfare system that may be different in the different member states, implication for labor market, great dependency, significant reduced productivity. So we are really talking about something that has a strong impact on our society. It's a real challenge, as I already mentioned to you. It's a challenge for the next decade. And we all know that tackling societal challenges and making breakthrough discovery is not a linear process. And what is needed, in fact, is a continuous support for science and innovation in the area of brain research. And in particular, the challenges that are presented by the complexity of the brain and its diseases require long-term vision from our policymaker, from our parliament. And I'm so glad that members of the European Parliament are been so kind today to listen to us, because they should have a long-term vision, because a higher level of integration and support for the full breadth of neuroscience research is still very much needed. We need continuity of investment in research. We need the engagement of our society, as we did since the beginning in the European Brain Council. And I would like to stress the fact that without a convincing research, fundamental research, clinical research, translational research, and appropriate support, it will be extremely difficult to have innovation in this area. And this is most needed. And this is a critical phase for all of us, because we know that we are in Europe negotiating, and in the final phase of it, the new Horizon Europe program. That is the 9th framework program in Europe. That is the flagship program that will fund research in the next 7 years. There are new elements in this program that EBC welcomed very much. They wanted to have moonshot missions, stronger emphasis on translational initiative. And again, we know that in our discipline, this is particularly needed. And we want to have new approach to partnership, that is to say, how member states, again, can cooperate and align their strategy for research agenda with European strategy. And I have to say that EBC, since the beginning, act very much sending key recommendation for Horizon Europe to the appropriate institution to reinforce and, in a sense, ring-fence the health cluster budget, which is very important for all of us and should not be diminished more. To prioritize brain research, because, as I told you before, this is really a challenge and we can't ignore it. It's like a ticking bomb outside there. And to launch a robust brain health partnership together with the alignment of strategic agenda of the member states. And I have to say, and I'm pleased to remind, because here we are talking about the academy of our national brain councils, they strongly support our Horizon Europe advocacy. They have been extremely active in all the consultation and all the document for the strategic plan, the first consultation, the second consultation. They have been able to outreach their own research minister locally at the member state. So we are, as EBC and as president of EBC, I can be extremely vocal on that, grateful to the whole work of the National Brain Councils, and we are welcome also the new formed like the Greek, and we hope that more and more are forming, because this is really the key, to work together, merge forces, to strengthen the concept that we need support in this particular domain of science that is brain research. And we have been successful because some of the battles, let's put it this way, has been successful. We included a few board lines inside the Horizon Europe program, and we are now debating and try to formulate as much as we can the brain health partnership that should be funded in the so-called second part of the Horizon Europe program, but should merge all the efforts and prioritize brain health for all European citizens and supporting brain research. And in this, we are also taking advantage of a different tool, which I simply would like to mention today in the sake of time, which is EBRA. EBRA is a very important project coordinated by European Brain Council with partnership with the major large initiative funding brain research in Europe, like JPND, ERANET, Neuron, and Human Brain Project. So altogether, we really would like to streamline and better coordinate brain research across Europe fostering global initiative with an eye on what is happening outside Europe. And the key issues that we wanted to address in this program are avoiding fragmentation, create connection, identifying gap, and most importantly, identify your priorities for Europe. Yeah, this is my last slide.
Okay.
And let me conclude in saying that it's a particular moment now because we are in the transition, right, from Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe. And in my opinion, working all together is a great opportunity for the brain community to show that health research and health brain research is crucial for society. That funding should remain uninterrupted and adequate resources should continue to be dedicated to addressing the burdens of brain disorders placed on our society. And in a sense, we need to learn the lesson of the COVID pandemic. And in fact, in my opinion, under so-called normal circumstances, brain disease remain a state of emergency that can be solved only intensifying research to reach a complete understanding of brain functioning. And with this, I hope that I'll showcases why we decided to generate this body, why we decided to work all together with national brain councils. And I really hope that this afternoon will be helpful for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Monica. It was very helpful, your introduction. And I would like to thank here the welcome of our MEP, Thomas Zetkowski, who accepted to say a few words. And please, without delay, I give him the floor to make this his introduction. Please, Thomas.
Yeah, Roland, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to say hello to everybody from you. You know that I am a big supporter of your group and all your activities. And Monica, I can promise you that I will continue my work for really increasing budget for brain research and for all the activities what will support our main topics. And you know, some of you knows that I was brain researcher before I was MEP, and I really did a lot of work in these issues, and I know how is it important. Also, Ronald, Spiros, you can really count with me, and I'm very happy and very glad that you have it still this group and you continue your excellent work, what I know for 6 years, and it will be continue in this period, and I can promise that the topic of the brain research will be topic of the EU and for EU fund. Also, you can count with them. Thank you very much, and I wish you a pleasant day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Your support is very well appreciated and very well needed. Thank you. So I suggest now we move to our next speaker, which is CEO Frederic Destrebeck, who is running EBC, with whom we have, and as NBC, strong relationship. So please, Fred, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Roland. So I'll share my screen. Should bear with me. Yes. Okay.
Good.
Is it okay? Good. So thank you, Roland, and thank you to the organizers. It's a pleasure to be with you all today to present actually the way EBC has been interacting so far with the National Brain Councils. Actually, I had divided my presentation in different parts, but since Professor Di Luca elegantly presented all the activities of EBC, I won't go back to this, but rather concentrate on how we work at national level and show the example of how a very concrete action of developing national brain plans actually became really an instrument of collaboration with NBCs, and how actually this interaction could be fostered, and how EBC managed to find ways to support the operation of national brain councils, and then present a few achievements. So basically the reason why we work at the national level is basically that the EU decision-making process is extremely complex. I won't go into the detail of that beautiful slide, but it was just to illustrate that the various touch points of that decision-making journey, we actually need the voice of the member states. And we actually need to be able to reach out at a national level. And that's how we believed a couple of years ago within EBC that setting up organizations who would be capable of leveraging the agenda and the issues of interest and the activities and the projects of EBC would actually make a lot of sense. So it goes at the level of various institutions, the European Council, the Council of Ministers, the Parliament, but also the Commission to a certain extent. And of course, there is an additional element in the EU decision-making process, which is this tradition to have EU presidencies rotating from one country to the other. And that's how EBC had a successful history of collaborating with a few of these presidencies, thanks to the support of the local National Brain Council. So we could organize, for instance, conferences under the auspices of the Maltese, the Dutch presidencies, for instance, in the recent years. So as Professor De Luca mentioned, NBCs are constituted of the national stakeholders making up the European Brain Council, but the idea is really to seek alignment with the mission and vision of EBC and to have an operation at the national level, plus the possibility to have NBCs as observers. But the value that we see in getting this operational is to be able to collect expertise and to build on the expertise that we have regarding policy developments, but linking this up to the national level. At the same time, we need support to conduct our advocacy in Brussels and creating that resonance. And I'm very often using this comparison of virtuous circle that we can generate from Brussels to each member state and back is actually what we need to be able to achieve in doing so. And as I said in my introduction, doing it under the angle of the development of national brain plans is definitely something that took us quite a bit of time and energy, but it originated from the European Month of the Brain, so that EBC organized with the European Commission in 2013. And the concluding remarks from the commissioner herself at the end of the final conference was to provide us back with a recommendation emphasizing the need to develop, refine national strategies on brain research and brain health, but that would be nested in an overarching European context. And this is how and building on the example of cancer, which was really spearheading this process at the time, this is how we actually embarked onto that journey. So we launched a call to action in 2015, building on that and calling member states to follow these recommendations, and also inviting the Commission to develop the European plan in order to tackle brain health and brain research in an integrated manner. So we have no successful examples of certain countries leading this process or leading this way. Norway has been the first one in December 2017 to launch their national brain health strategy. And they are now working very closely with the government on how to implement chapter by chapter of this strategy. And we have obviously other countries leading this example, like Poland, for instance, and we are now working with the other countries to follow in that way. So benefits and challenges of working EBC with national brain councils, I think benefits is really to build up those synergies. I mentioned this virtual circle, bottom up and top down. For us, collecting also feedback from the member states as to what they experience, what are the concrete challenges, what are the concrete concerns and priorities from the patients, clinical and researchers communities are extremely important. And also how we can leverage that back to policymakers at a European level. Also creating impact with, for instance, the adoption and the implementation of those national brain plans is extremely important. And at the same time, we should realize that doing all of that is actually confronting us to a certain number of challenges and barriers. We often have discussions with our colleagues from NBCs on how the limited organizational capabilities and the limited resources that they often have can be overcome. And I'll come to that in a moment, but also the support to advocacy, which is extremely important. And I'm very pleased that actually Roland and colleagues, you took the initiative of organizing this 6th Academy of National Brain Councils, because creating the Academy was really this attempt to foster collaboration, but also for EBC to provide as much support as it could to National Brain Councils. And I would now come to, let's say, how all this work has come to fruition and how these achievements came about. So Professor De Luca mentioned, and I won't repeat, the successful collaboration that we had in the context of Horizon Europe. But we also had the successful development of a few project applications under Erasmus+, and Share for Brain is a fantastic example of that. Also as a way to bring some financial resources to the activities of NBCs. We also noted very recently articles that were published with a joint collaborative effort from different brain councils working together. On one side, Norway, Germany, and Belgium publishing in Frontiers in the context of the Global Brain Health Survey, the French and Belgian Brain Council publishing in the French Journal of Psychiatry. And I should echo the words of Professor De Luca in loading the coordination and liaison being done with the board of EBC by the Serbian, French, Spanish, and Belgian brain councils acting together. So in terms of the next steps, we have a bit of a journey ahead in continue to developing national brain plans across countries and fostering that notion of strategies and the resonance with European action. And we are planning to do so by also fostering the engagement between national brain councils and also national societies and national organizations by building up resources that actually can be shared and can be used by national stakeholders. So thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to the discussion that will follow.
Thank you very much, Fred. It was very illustrating what is the role of NBC versus EBC, and I very much like the concept you raised of the virtual circle, because one of the main questions which always raise is what can NBC bring to EBC and what EBC can bring to NBCs, and really you illustrated this very well. And I am now very, so we can ask a question, you can ask a written question, maybe it will be easier during the talk. And I'm now very proud to give the floor to Christina Dalla, because she worked very hard to launch the Hellenic Brain Council. To install a national brain council is quite hard work, because you have to convince a lot of local stakeholders who doesn't see at the first look what the interest to belongs to them. And this is why some countries are still resistant. But I'm very happy that today we can listen to the launching of the Hellenic Brain Council, which was made by Christina Dalla. So please, Christina, go ahead.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Great. I'm very honored to present today the launching of the Hellenic Brain Council. And I would like to thank from the beginning, because I might not have time in the end, the European Brain Council and Fred, and of course, the Belgian Brain Council, and especially Dr. Roland Pochet for his support and persistence, and all the members of the Hellenic Society for Neuroscience that have made this happen, and of course, all the representatives of the Greek societies that I will present just now. So, the aims of the Hellenic Brain Council, of course, are the same as those that you already heard about the National Brain Councils. We aim to bring public awareness on prevention and treatment of neurological, psychiatric, but also neurodevelopmental brain disorders, and also to promote brain health. Also, we aim to participate even more in consultation on policy making, on regulatory affairs and advocacy about brain matters, education of all stakeholders from the general public to the patients, politicians, journalists, etc. And of course, to promote interdisciplinary research in the preclinical and clinical level, and also to take into consideration socioeconomic factors. So far, we have many different societies that they have already agreed to participate in our Hellenic Brain Council. And those, of course, the first one is the Hellenic Society for Neuroscience that has also taken the initiative, but also very big Greek societies like the Hellenic Psychiatric Society, the Hellenic Neurological Society, the Psychological Society, Neurosurgery. As you can see here, many different for stress, but also for children's psychiatry and stress and neurodevelopmental disorders. And of course, we have with us EPIONI, the Greek Carers Network from the beginning, and also patient groups and associations like MSLS, ADHD-LS, and Hellenic Parkinson's Association. There are also many other partners that they have shown interest, like physical entities and, of course, industry partners. And we're very happy about it. Just very briefly, just for the history, to let you know that there were 2 attempts in the past, in 2004 and 2012, from Professor Stylianopoulou and Professor Thimiopoulos, again from the Hellenic Society for Neuroscience, to form the Hellenic Brain Council. So we have a lot of experience on that. And lately, in 2018, thanks to the 4th National Brain Council Academia in Portugal, we have again our interest was again initiated, and then we participated again in the 5th Academia in Croatia. Then in 2019, when I was president of the Hellenic Society of Neuroscience, and I was honored to take charge of this, we invited societies and caregivers networks. We also drafted the first bylaws. And lately, in 2020, we have also invited the patient groups. We have discussed the bylaws. We have consulted lawyers about the bylaws, and we are very close to form the legal status. Just because of the pandemic, we didn't have the chance yet. We also have a logo and a website name. This is a picture from Dubrovnik last year. Some of you were there. And also, this is an example of the invitation letters that we sent last year with Marian from the European Brain Council. And of course, they were signed also by Monica Di Luca and Frederica de Strebek. So if we want to make fast a SWOT analysis of forming a brain council, at least the one in Greece, the strengths are a lot. We had the support of the European Brain Council, the support of the Belgian Brain Council, as I told you already. Also, the Hellenic Society for Neuroscience took the initiative, but also EPIONI is also very active in this field. We were accepted with a lot of enthusiasm and positive spirit by all clinicians and all patient groups and all stakeholders. So with the work and effectiveness, we are ready to launch this. We even have the guidelines from the toolkit from the EBC. The weaknesses, of course, as in every Mediterranean country, there is a lack of funds. There is some difficulty in organization and communication sometimes, especially now with the COVID-19 situation. And for this, there is a long procedure, but we need the persistence in order to overcome it. And of course, there are a lot of opportunities. We already talked about collaborations between national brain councils, and our members have a lot of experience also, as you will see later, in brain awareness and other events. So just to show you very fast past-related actions, we have brain awareness events for more than 10 years with the support of friends from the Hellenic Society for Neuroscience, but also other societies like the Neurology Academy and others have organized very successful events. Also, we have advocacy events. We have published books for the general public. We have participated in surveys and questionnaires with the Belgian Brain Council and the others. We have taken also given advice for this publication, and also we have participated in consultation actions and in joint actions. We have also already translated letters to send to the General Secretariat of Research and Technology in Greece. We even went there ourselves because it's close to our department. Also other members, like you saw before, MS-ELAS and ADHD-ELAS, and of course EPIONI have also participated in many actions in Europe. The threats are mainly now the COVID-19 situation that delays us, but we think that we'll overcome this. Of course, there's limited funds, but also with joint actions, we think that we can also overcome this very fast. In the future, we will obtain very soon the legal status and form a governing council. We plan to invite the industry to become affiliated partners, and also will take part in consultation for research, policy, regulatory affairs, and advocacy on a national level. We have already also translated this letter for Horizon Europe work program, and also we'll try to facilitate and give the auspices to brain awareness events from different societies. And of course, to participate in webinars and also disseminate. And to disseminate all this knowledge, we have already obtained the domain for the Brain Council, the Hellenic Brain Council. We named it like that so it's not confused with the German Brain Council, because then we would have two GBCs and we don't want that. So this is already online, but we'll enrich it very soon. And just to conclude, because I know we have very limited time, to thank again Professor Roland Posset for his persistence and all his help, again the ABC and all the representatives, and especially Spiros and Fokion from EPIONI, the past and the present members of the Hellenic Society for Neuroscience, the Governing Council, the present one, Professor Kyriaki Sidiropoulou, but also the past presidents and other members that they have contributed to that, Professor Yiannopoulos, Thimiopoulos, Tomatakis, Thermos, and others that you probably know them from their activity in Europe. And personally, I would like to thank my colleagues, Haris Alexopoulos, Nikos Kokras, and Ioannis Sotiropoulos for their support in this endeavor. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christina, for this very nice and clear presentation in which you illustrated all the way you had to go through, and you finally succeeded. It's very enthusiastic to see what you have achieved. And one thing in which you also succeed is getting several stakeholders, including patients. And this is also an important part, because patients are very important stakeholders, as the Commission is always claiming everywhere, patient centricity. But it's a very challenging matters. And one of the challenge is the difference in culture, and within culture is the language. So one of the mission of the NBC is to translate for patient all the information and the calls and all the information coming from Brussels in English. And I think this is very also one of our mission. And it's not easy, because translating looks easy. It's not easy because of the cultural background for each language. So I will now give the floor to Fokion from EPIONI, who will say a few words about NBC and the patient voice. Please, Fokion.
Thank you very much, Roland. Sorry, but we have zoomed out the picture. Okay, we are zooming in now. I'll talk about the National Brain Councils and the patient's voice. It will be a very brief talk, a very brief presentation. So the National Brain Council's mission is to promote brain-related research by collaborating with various organizations, interacting with the institutions of the European Union, fostering dialogue between scientists and society, promoting education and disseminating information about brain research and diseases in Europe. A key stakeholder of the National Brain Councils are the patient organizations involved in brain-related research. Consequently, their feedback, that means the patient's feedback, is valuable for feeding the research on the brain and its disorders. The patient's voice must be heard so that a better understanding of brain disorders is facilitated and the patient-centric research is enabled. And finally, the involvement of patient organizations in the research on the brain and its disorders promotes their empowerment and it enables them to represent their interests in a responsible and self-determined way, acting on their own authority. That's it from me. It was very brief.
Yeah, very short, but very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. And so I think maybe we will have some more questions about the patient role and how can we make them more active. And this is one of the challenge I think NBC has, and we will discuss that later. But one of the aspects which is was raised a long time ago is NBC have no funds because, you know, only European Association can get grants from the Commission. And national brain, you have to address to the national authority, which are very not interested by subsidizing this. This is one of the challenge, but we will also discuss it. And maybe one of the thing we could do to have some funds is to play a role within Erasmus Plus in the specific call for education for adults. And therefore we have, thanks to the strong support of Piros and Epioni, could succeed in having 3 Erasmus Plus in which NBC are involved. And therefore, we will talk about this now. And I give the floor to one of the NBCs, the Serbian one, who is headed by Pavle Anjus. Please, Pavle. Pavle, we don't hear you. Pavle, are you in?
Just give me some time to find the microphone. Okay, so let me share again my screen. And in the meantime, I would like to thank you, Roland, and also to Jose Tejo, who both gave me the honor to show their projects. So do you see now my screen and you hear me? Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, and now I'm going to open the presentation. So this is going to be a presentation, as Roland said, of the way we found out how the NBCs can support themselves and at the same time communicate between themselves through this kind of Erasmus plus adult education actually actions. So the first of the 3 I would have the honor to present is Share for Brain, which is led by the Belgian Brain Council. And it has, as you can see, collaboration with the Spanish Brain Council, Serbian Brain Council, the Hellenic Society, and the two patient associations, Epioni and CBBF. So the aims of Share for Brain are rather wide. It should tackle patients, brain researchers, and clinicians, and also very importantly, carers at the national level. And it should provide them the skills and knowledge to assess the necessary promotion of brain research, and of course to raise the awareness about the societal impact of the brain diseases. The next one is the ADHD care, which is led by the Serbian Brain Council, and it's called Exchanging Good Practices for People with Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, shortly ADHD, and their caregivers. And you see the consortium here made by partners from Belgium, from Greece, Cyprus, and Turkey. The aims are to offer psychoeducation. We have psychiatrists on board for the ADHD patients, to highlight the importance of support to ADHD carers again, and to improve the lives of patients living with ADHD. And the main deliverable will actually be to exchange good practices and make a kind of a good practice guidebook that one can use in ADHD campaigns. The third project is led by the aforementioned Spanish Brain Council, and it deals with care for autism. This is the youngest project. It's called Exchanging Good Practices for Adults with Autism and Their Family Caregivers. The consortium you can see below, and the aims are that the project will share good practices on treatment, employment, and support of caregivers of autistic adults. It aims to reduce the stigma and discrimination that is seen towards these patients as well as their caregivers. And it should share successful national campaigns to promote public awareness about this disease in adults. Of course, it is also focused on caregivers, and the idea is to ease the level of depression, stress, insecurity, and anxiety about the future of these adults with autism. And of course, the social support should be enhanced, and that the final and not the least aim of this project. It's worth saying that this is, as I said, the youngest project, and it will have its kickoff still to start actually in April 2021 in Madrid, Spain. So I would like to thank you for your attention and for all the 3 projects I just presented.
Thank you, Pavle.
Thank you.
It's a very nice illustration of the efforts we could put together NBC to finally raise some grants from EU. So I think by now we have make a large screen of what NBC are and what EBC can contribute and how we can contribute. I would like, before putting the floor for questions and answer to all the speakers, raise one important point and one difficult point is to reach the policymakers. Because it's very nice to have consultation, it's very nice to have EU grants, but as you know, in the matter of health, it is the member states who have the final words. And we have seen now with the COVID pandemic, how chaotic all this is. Health is managed by each country. They apply their own roles. They have their own social security. And for some country, the pandemic is very high. You have to wear a mask, for others not, and so on and so on. So this illustration that we should act on the member states, and it is the NBC who can do it. So there was a consultation about the health cluster, the budget for 221 and 222. NBC sent a response to this consultation, raising the fact that brain and brain disease were really neglected in the new budget. And what we did as an NBC level is to translate this consultation. And I'm very proud to show you that we succeeded in having in already 14 different languages. Do you see my screen? Can you show my screen?
No, we cannot actually, but maybe you can try to share.
Okay, how do I do that?
Or otherwise, yeah.
I can do. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see, I put the flags of the country and I put the title of the consultancy in their own language. So we have the Czech, we have the Croatian, we have the French in the Belgian in French and Dutch. We have the Spanish, the Portuguese, and the next one show you, yeah.
You were already in the next one.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we have already 14. And this is a very important tool and instrument. I'm still waiting for the Norwegian, for the Polish, and another one. We have the Finnish also. And this should be used by the NBC to send it to their policymakers and to send it to explain with a cover letter why this is important. And they also should inform their ambassador, because you know the concilium, which is the authority who decide, as an ambassador. And so by informing the ambassadors who make the agenda of the concilium of the summit of the Europe, we can start influencing. I know it's very ambitious, it's very difficult, but it has to be done, I think. So after that, I will now give the floor for a few questions before giving the floor to our MEP, Tomislav Sokol, who will close the session. So if you have a few urgent...
I have a comment.
Yeah, please.
So a comment to Christina, and in general, the NBCs should work together, and there should be mechanisms to do it. Of course, as I said, each of us can interact individually to NBCs among themselves, but the best is to make a kind of a mutual meeting as this academy, but also we started this initiative of regional meetings, and a regional meeting happened in Belgrade, and we had also a representative from Greece. You sent Christina Alexopoulos, Harry, who was there. So we discussed also how to make an NBC there. And finally, you, Christina, helped in a survey that resulted in a paper, which I would like to thank our Croatian colleagues. It's actually Croatian Medical Journal that published the National Brain Council's Common Challenges in Regional Cooperation, which came out from our regional meeting. And Christina is cited in the acknowledgement. So there are something we can do together, and definitely this is a way to help each other. That's my comment.
Thank you. So is there any other comments or question by the audience? Please do not hesitate, but maybe because there is still 5 minutes, I may give the floor to our colleagues in NEPS, Tomislav Sokol from Croatia and from EPP. So please, Tomislav, are you there?
May I say something?
I'm here.
Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, well.
Well, I would like to do 2 comments. We are in a meeting of the Academy of National Brain Councils, and there are 2 points on which we have progressed. First, it was a definition of the 10 priorities that were shared and supported by most of us. And second, and thank you, Roland, for fostering the translation of this position of the EBC. And I would say that one of the major impact we can have on European decisions, not only at national level, but would be to show that all of these achievements have been supported by a community of 10 to 14 and hopefully 27 national brain councils. This would help certainly the EBC, I suppose. And in fact, I will also support the advocacy of Roland Pochet to disseminate the text on the H21-22 program to all national policymakers. And we are doing it in France, but
Okay.
if it's done in each state, it will have, I hope, an impact. But
Thank
to
you.
reach,
Thank you very much, Francois. And I think the support of France is very important because, as you know, the German and the French are the two most powerful nations influencing the European policy. But now I have to give the floor to a friend, the MEP Tomislav Sokol. Please, Tomislav.
Yes.
Roland, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me and giving me the chance to speak at this great event. Of course, you know that we've been collaborating for a while now. I would say maybe formally since December last year when I organized a conference on tackling insomnia and Alzheimer's disease here in the Parliament. Also afterwards, I took part in the conference on the better future of healthy aging in Zagreb during the presidency, where I had an intervention about EU legal and policy instruments for improving treatment and prevention of chronic disease. So definitely we are cooperating very well, and this is one proof of this, and I would definitely like this to continue. Of course, this project, I mean, you said everything about the project. I think it's very good. This cross-border aspect is very important because I think nowadays we realize, of course, with the pandemic, but not just with the pandemic, but with everything, that there are lots of problems that cannot be resolved by individual states, individual countries, individual academic communities of individual countries, but that this cooperation in terms of economy, politics, academia, research, raising awareness, patient organizations is crucial. So these kinds of projects are very good, and I would like to congratulate you on all the activities that you presented today. What I especially find it important, apart from this cross-border aspect, is the raising awareness, because I think this is something that has been neglected too often in the past, especially the area of brain research and brain disorders. And other areas had bigger impact, maybe other areas of healthcare provision, etc. And I'm glad that now you have this really strong organization or network of national organizations, of course, the EBC, which are doing a lot of work on this. So I'm very glad for this, and I'm very glad that this is also financed through the EU funds, through EU resources, which shows that you can make a difference. Of course, one thing that puzzled me are the numbers. So 179 million Europeans, that's more than one third, and the cost of 600 billion euros. Why am I mentioning this? I'm mentioning this because in general, in political discussions, usually healthcare is considered a cost.
Yeah.
We have to spend this amount of money, etc., etc. But it's never thought of, or it's not very often thought of in terms of investment. So how much additional quality adjusted life years we get, how many people we get who will contribute to the society more if we have prevention, if we have good treatment, etc., etc. So healthcare can really actually make a difference in terms of providing concrete benefits to the economy. Because we lose too many people who are in the prime of their life, who can contribute to the society, to the economy, etc. We lose them because of various diseases. These numbers are enormous, and definitely, so I think definitely great potential, and also in the possibilities to change this perception of healthcare being a cost, but to perceive it more as an investment in having more healthy people contributing more to society and the economy. Of course, as you said, and this is actually the topic of my presentation in Zagreb, at the Zagreb conference, healthcare is a national competence primarily. So the biggest powers, especially in terms of organization, financing, social security provision, etc., are on the national level. But unfortunately, this fact, which is true to some extent, has often been used as an excuse for the EU to do nothing. Because the problem is that EU traditionally didn't have a health policy. So the problem with EU health policy is that you don't have one. This is changing. I think the big political impetus was the election campaign last year, where our party, EPP, put a very strong emphasis on beating cancer as one of the concrete benefits that EU can bring to citizens. because too often EU is considered as something, very abstract, not connected to everyday life. But so the idea was to show that we can actually contribute to everyday life, that we can heal people, we can act in terms of prevention, awareness, early diagnosis, etc., which are concrete benefits for almost all people, because I think there are no people who today in Europe, or very few people who don't have some connection with cancer. Either they themselves have cancer, or they already went through it, or somebody in their family, friends, etc. And of course, this is also so this was one of the first impetus. This was the first impetus last year to have a stronger EU health policy. Now with COVID-19, we have this strong reshuffling of priorities on the EU level. But I think that we should fight, and now I'm talking about us, the policymakers in the European Parliament, to shift focus. That focus is not exclusively on COVID-19 pandemic, but on other areas of healthcare as well. Because we cannot put the entire healthcare systems of member states on standby for 1 year, 2 years, etc., until we find the vaccine or resolve the problem of the pandemic in another way. Pandemic has really put a lot of focus on healthcare, but now we have to work on putting the focus not just on fighting COVID pandemic or fighting the vaccine, but on healthcare in general. And I'm glad that you have really emphasize this new approach, which is much more broader than just treating diseases that have already occurred. So that you are raising awareness, the question of early diagnosis or prevention, healthy lifestyle, so all of these things that are very important. And I was actually amazed in December last year when I organized this conference on Alzheimer, when I realized that most of the factors which influence emergence of Alzheimer are actually outside factors. So factors which are not genetic, but are outside factors which that we can influence in terms of that we can influence by our concrete actions. So more healthier lifestyle, more healthy environment, etc. What concrete can we as policymakers on EU level do? So I think apart from raising awareness, like organizing these conferences, different conferences in the Parliament, which are unfortunately now on standby because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but I think we can do a lot of in terms of our public appearances. But I think our biggest influence can be through our budgeting powers. You know that we are currently in the process of negotiating the next EU 7-year budget, and the 7-year budget is important because it determines all the priorities of EU financing for the next 7 years. And unfortunately, after having having a good progress in terms of latest Commission proposal, which increased the EU health budget by 20-fold from 450 million euros in the last 7 years to 9.4 billion euros. Now, unfortunately, the Council has reduced this from 9.4 billion euros to 1.7 billion euros. I think this sends the wrong message. I think in terms of overall budget, this is a really small amount. If you look at the budget, which will be more than 1,100 billion euros for these 7 years, I think this 9.4 billion euros is really a feeble amount that we definitely have to find somehow. And this is something that the Parliament's position will definitely be. We already defined it, that it is completely unacceptable that this amount, that the health budget is reduced to 1.7 billion. Because it's not just a question of the amount of money, but the fact that before, in the last 7 years, and also in the budgets before that, healthcare was always one integral part of the European Social Fund. And of course, this is not acceptable for us. What we wanted, we as the Parliament, to have the EU for Health program as a standalone program with its own priorities, with a concrete set of objectives, etc. So in the first stage, we achieved this, but now we have to fight for the amount to be more serious than just 1.7 billion proposed by the Council. Also, the one additional part which is very important, and that is connected with research specifically, is the horizon. And definitely the proposal put forward by Commission in May for the horizon budget to be at around 94 billion euros was, I think, it was kind of a good compromise, because actually the Parliament's proposal was to increase it to 120 billion euros. Commission proposal was 94, but this was cut down by the Council to 80.9 billion euros, which is completely unacceptable for us. And I think this will definitely be a red line for the European Parliament, because one of the main priorities that we thought that discussed in the Parliament for the last almost 2 years was to have this to increase the role of the European Union in terms of investment and research. Because if you look at other countries, if you look at other parts of the world, especially China and the US, you can see that Europe is lagging behind in terms of research, in terms of having concrete results from research investments, in terms of creation of big companies who are investing into research. So this is something that definitely we'll have to work on. So this amount of 80 billion euros is unacceptable for us, and we will definitely fight to increase it to at least on the level of the Commission proposal of 94 billion, but it will be great to increase it to over 100 billion euros. But we'll see how. But we'll definitely see how this works. But what is important is definitely that brain research and fighting brain disorders finds its way as one of the priorities of the New Horizon. I think we crossed a long way in doing this, especially to introduce the term brain disorders, which covers both neurological and mental conditions, as one of the priorities. So definitely, I think we have a very interesting times ahead of us in terms of brain research and treatment and the role of the EU. I think it will increase. It will not be easy. There's a lot of obstacles, especially from national authorities who do not want a stronger EU role in this. But I think your transnational cooperation, cross-border cooperation, shows that definitely without this cross-border collaborations, without cooperation on European level, we cannot achieve real results. So I think this will definitely be my last message. I congratulate you for this project. I'm glad that this cross-border trans-European collaboration and cooperation has taken shape, and I look forward to collaborating with you in the future, and also hopefully attending your events that are scheduled in Madrid and Bari in next year, hopefully in normal circumstances, more normal than today. So thank you very much, and I wish you success in your future work.
Thank you so much, Tomislav, because you really raised all the big problems, and your understanding of the situation is exceptional. And I would like to ask Monica to say a few words to close the session.
Well, thank you very much, Roland. As I already said at the beginning, for me, it's a privilege to be here. And as a European Brain Council in the last 3 years, I guess that we strengthen more and more the cooperation with national brain councils, and the results are evident. So from my side, I would like to thank the MEPs, because they really touch the most important point also of our own battles. So I thank you also, Tomislav, because you really mentioned few very important issues for us. And for whatever we can help you in supporting your battle are our battle. So we are absolutely available for any kind of support and discussion. And to you all guys, to the embassies, I would like to thank you tremendously, because I really believe very strongly that a tight collaboration is not a vicious circle. To me, is an optimal circle. It's not vicious in a sense. We are really in an ideal position to make a difference. We can gain from what we receive from the member states, and the member state, through the European Brain Council, can make their own voice even stronger with the European Parliament and the European institution. So I really would like to see in the future even more stronger collaboration, cooperation, and to have a common strategy towards our common goals that are so clear for the benefits for those who are living with a brain disease in Europe. Again, and this is my last word, this is a ticking bomb. It's out there, and we need to make it visible and to show the importance of what we are fighting for, and for what we are all working in our laboratories, in our clinic, in our care system. So thank you for doing this, and I really hope to see you in future in person, as Tomislav just said, finally. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Monica. Thank you very much, Tomislav and Thomas. And thank you all for being with us today. And I think I will close the session. And thank you again, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, Roland. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.